Hello and welcome to MusicEL Pathways, the podcast which focuses on the different pathways musicians take in order to reach their musical goals. Today we're going to be talking to another teacher over at MusicEL so that you can get to know us a little bit better. And on today's podcast we have someone who can blow most vocalists away with just their voice and a master of the operatic arts, ukulele and recorder queen, and an absolutely amazing vocal teacher, as well as being a vocal lead at the Cornwall Music Service Trust. She has also managed to find a little bit of time to create some lessons for us over here at MusicEL. And we have the always awesome Cheryl Brendish. How's it going, Cheryl?
Hello.
Nice. So, as I said at the top, we're going to kind of look at the ways in which you became a musician, how you developed your skills, how you learned, and how now you teach others. And I guess it all starts all the way back at the beginning. And what role did music play when you were young?
Well, if you could speak to my parents, which sadly you can't at the moment, they always said that when I was born singing. And I was really lucky when I was about 17. I met the guy who delivered me and I said, my parents have always told me when I was born singing. Is it true? And he said, it absolutely is true. He said, we were like, what is this baby doing? And you were singing.
Instead of crying, it was a pitched
Instead of crying,
movement.
I was a pitched movement going on. And I never changed. As a baby, I must have been, and as it stayed all my life, really annoying because I just sang constantly and sang and sang and sang. And when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I asked Mum if I could have a pony and we would keep it in the shed at the bottom of the garden. That didn't materialise, which was probably a good thing because about 6 months after that, I decided that what I really wanted was singing lessons.
Right.
And
okay.
my mum spoke to the music teacher at school and she was like, well, yeah, you really should get some proper music lessons for Cheryl because when she came in on her first day at school, we gave them all a recorder and we had put notes up, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, on the board. And before we'd actually taught them where to put the fingers, Cheryl had picked it up, worked it out herself and already blown a scale.
Well, maybe you came out of the womb already singing it. you came out singing a perfect C major. Maybe that's what it was.
Perfect C major scale.
You just know it.
Yeah, and
That's
I never
amazing.
stopped. And my parents got me singing lessons and that was the start of an amazing phase in my life. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
And how old were you then? Were you still quite early in primary or?
Oh, yeah. When I first had singing lessons, I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I was entering because I come from a place to the north of Cornwall called Mansfield near Nottingham. And I was entering the Mansfield Music Festival. And I went, I think when I first went in for that, I was 6 years old. And I'd broken my arm. Because I'm really accident prone. Yeah. So I've broken this 3 times, I've broken this twice, I've broken all kinds of things. And I was
horses. No horses is a good idea then. Like horses would have been a disaster.
Yeah, but I like throwing myself out of aeroplanes and mountain biking and doing anything like that. So I started really young, and then I was so lucky that actually the singing teacher that I had then said, you need to actually take her to somebody that's really amazing. And my mum researched it. Of course, there was no internet or anything in those days. Yeah. So mum went to the library and researched through books and magazines and asked about. And we were really lucky that there was this lady called Pamela Cook. And Pamela Cook was known to be one of the best singing teachers in the world.
Oh, right.
And she had her own private choir called Cantamus. And they were based in Mansfield.
That is so lucky, isn't it? The fates.
So, I was really lucky. And my mum didn't tell me she'd organised an audition for me. And she picked me up from school one day and said, right, we're not going home. I'm just going to take you to a lady and I just want you to sing for her. Okay.
That's probably a
So
nice
I
way of
did.
doing it. That takes the pressure off a bit,
Yeah.
doesn't it? That makes it
Yeah.
less like, this is a high stakes, high pressure situation. We're just going to sing. And that is all it is.
Yeah.
That is all any music playing really is. We're just going to play a song. If you take that pressure off.
Exactly. And I say that to all my students, whether they're doing exams or a performance, I'm like, it's just singing to somebody, or maybe a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But everybody wants you to do well. Everybody wants to hear somebody sing well and brilliantly, and they're already 50% on your side.
Yeah, and I think that goes for the same for most instruments. No one's turning up to see a car wreck. No one's turning up to see a disaster. They're all kind of there just to go, we want to hear you. So there's no pressure there, none at all. You only make your own pressure, don't you? Which is a sad part
it's
of
your own
musicianship.
expectations of yourself, and actually I'm the worst because I am an absolute perfectionist, which I do realise can make me a nightmare. But it does mean that for all my performances, I will just keep working and working and working and working. And I still have singing lessons myself.
Oh, really?
And lots of people are, when they find that out, and I'm like, but of course it's a voice, it's housed within a body. And a body will always try and find an easier way of doing something. So you need somebody externally going, don't be lazy. Or do this, or have you thought about this? And I have a vocal coach as well. So
and
there's lots of things singers have.
I think the other things, it's nice to have just another set of eyes sometimes and another set of ears just to look and listen to you and go, oh, I've noticed when you do that, you do this.
Yes.
And you go, oh.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? That kind of explains why that happens over here. It's that kind of thing that you can never, like a lot with guitar, I tell a lot of people to play in front of a mirror, play in front of a mirror, and you might pick it up, but you're still focusing on the guitar too much really to pick everything up. So just having another set of eyes there just really makes a massive difference. And the same for like non-easy pitch instruments, i.e. voices and violins. You need a really set of good ears to tell if your pitching is bang on. And
all singers have to practice in front of mirrors.
Yeah.
And ideally you have 2. So you have one that you can just see your face, and then you have a full length one as well. So you can see that you're breathing and that your stance is correct. And then for singers, it's what you're doing, obviously, with your mouth and your mask and your articulators to make sure that everything's working correctly. So, I have a whole set of mirrors in here. You can't see at the moment, but they're all in here. So that when we're allowed to have them come in here, and I have a great big screen that they stand behind now, but we've got the mirrors up so they can see themselves. And I have them in my music room when I'm practicing.
Yeah. I know Cheryl would have a field day watching me sing. It would just be a train wreck.
Oh, you wait to the music service Christmas do. I'm going to have a little video.
Yeah, I was going to say, just like watching in, like, none of that is right.
Yeah, Gary, let's have a chat.
I've had exactly 2 vocal lessons, and that is about as far as it's gone.
I'm sure you're great because of what you do. I am sure you don't need me at all.
That's very kind. I do not believe it one bit, but it's very kind. So
we can chat later.
were you quite relaxed when you went and did that audition then? Because, your mum didn't tell you anything, and then I take it you got into that choir or that ensemble.
I did. I was relaxed. I had heard about Cantamus. You couldn't live basically in Mansfield or Nottinghamshire and not know of Cantamus.
Yeah.
Because they'd already been going for about 8 years, actually, and they'd already won very, very big, prestigious competitions across Europe. And so when Mum said, I was like, oh well, yes, I'll just trot in here because obviously I deserve to be here.
Easy.
I sang. Yes, and what they had actually was, she said, because I was so young, that she wouldn't take me into the choir immediately. She wanted me to be a little bit older. I think when I went to Pam Cook, I think I was about 10. Right, and she wanted me to be a little bit older going into the choir. And so I was going to go and have lessons with her assistant, Anne Irons, who was also and is an incredible singing teacher. And I think I had 2 weeks worth of lessons. And then Pam Cook rang my mum and said, actually, I want to take Cheryl into the choir. So I went straight into the choir. I mean, they now have a training choir. They have a junior choir.
That's amazing.
But, it's about 190 years ago. So we didn't have all of that then. And I joined. And I was, there were these amazing, amazing singers. So they were all 18 and about to go off to conservatoires. Yeah. 2 of them have won the Kathleen Ferrier Award. Lots of them are on all the big opera houses around the world. I mean, it's very odd to go to any big opera house and not find a cantamus girl.
That's good.
It's
good.
Almost
That's amazing.
Impossible, yeah.
But that harks back to that, like being the worst player in the room. You can learn the most stuff being the worst player in the room. And, if you're just surrounded by those people of that sort of level, it's going to bring your singing on massively, I would imagine.
Oh, I mean, it was incredible. And I stayed in the choir until I was 18, because at 18 you have to, because a lot of the competitions, the big choral international competition, we went to Montreal. I think I've got it here. I think I was, oh my goodness. Well, it was 1978. I'm not going to tell you how old I was when I went, but I wasn't very old. But we won. We won the Prix du Public and the Prix du Jury, and we were all given a copy of the winning, and it was absolutely incredible. We beat these phenomenal choirs. One of them was from Poland, a male voice choir from Poland. Absolutely incredible. And they then invited us to go over to this fantastic choral competition in Poland, and you couldn't enter this competition unless you had won another international competition and were then invited. So we did. We raised funds by singing in Mansfield Carnival.
Of course,
long flowery dresses.
You've got to do that stuff.
And we did sponsored sings, 24-hour sponsored sings.
Yeah. But it's the same, even like I remember one of my first bands, we wanted to go and tour. To tour, you need money. And to get money, quickest way to get money as a band, play every gig that people offer you and dump it all. And you play some horrific gigs. But, that funding allows you to do the thing that you've got your eyes set on. So
it does. And it was an incredible experience. I was really lucky.
Is choral stuff really big in Poland?
It is.
Okay.
We ended up with pictures of us on billboards, and they had taken pictures of the whole choir and then sectioned us off. And it was. I remember walking round a corner, and come around this corner. I mean, massive proper billboard, and there was me and my 2 friends either side of me. Huge. I was like, oh my. What's that? In our flowery dresses with puff sleeves. To here.
So they got the right picture, the exact picture you wanted plastered all over a wall.
And it's out there. I know where it is. It's hidden because Cantamus have a website, and you can go and see past members and phases of the choir, and nobody ever finds me actually.
There's a pseudonym there somewhere.
I think if you know me really well, actually, some of my other singer friends have gone, "That's you." Yes.
Oh no! Did you do singing? Did you do GCSE music and go through school and take a musical path as well?
I did GCS music. I did, they were O levels when I was in school. So I did O level music. I did A level music. I did all my ABRSM grades. And the one thing about being in Cantamus is you also had to learn to play the piano. It's one of the
That's a great skill.
Stipulations. So I had to, my poor parents, my mum ended up taking a second job to pay for my lessons. And then I was asked to audition for the West Notts County Music School, which you went to on a Saturday morning.
Right, okay.
And when you got into that, your first and your second instruments were paid by the county. So they paid for my lessons, and then you go to there. So Saturday mornings I had a singing lesson at 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock, and then my dad would then rush me to the West Notts County over in Nottingham, and I'd be there till 1 o'clock, and then he'd rush me back. So when I was a bit older, I had a Saturday job as well, and he'd have to get me to that. My poor dad.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like more like a taxi than anything else.
It was, and my mum couldn't do it because my mum was at work at her second job to pay for all these other music lessons that I was having as well, because I played other instruments.
It's a great thing to do piano though. Like I think I wish I'd done some piano lessons when I was younger, and like my piano playing is a bit ropey. It gets me by, but it's a bit ropey, and I think it's that instrument that just allows you to do so much, and especially I imagine for singing, to accompany yourself and to help with your pitching, it's probably the perfect instrument for doing that kind of stuff.
But when you're learning songs, learning whole roles, whether it's in musical theatre or in opera or whatever it is, to be able to teach yourself the song, the melody of the song, but then to actually accompany yourself, so actually, certainly in opera, when you're coming out and you're thinking, ooh, that's I've got to find this note from the ether, because the orchestra is not playing any of my note. So you have to play it so that you can just pitch, and you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, so that you train your ear and your brain and your vocal cords. Now, when you hear this, you sing this note.
Yeah, and it's massively useful for harmony, isn't it? Massively useful for harmony.
It is, and teaching harmony. It is. It's great. I mean, it's a great skill. I mean, I whipped through my grades. So I did I did them spring, summer and Christmas, and I did 2 every time. So I did grades 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. So I actually went through all my grades in 18 months. Yeah,
that's pretty good going.
That was more to do with the fact that I really didn't like that teacher. She used to have a ruler.
Oh no. It was that.
Oh yeah.
That's that
but
kind.
We didn't hit when you did the wrong fingers. She didn't hit with the flat part.
Oh what? No. That karate chop.
I mean, unbelievable. If you did that now, oh my lord. But and I would come out and sometimes my fingers were so bruised. And there was only once that my dad said, "What's wrong with your fingers, Cheryl?" And I was like, "You hit me." Yeah. Oh my goodness, my dad reversed that car so fast. Whoa! She never hit me again.
That's good. That is good.
Yeah. Like, I was like, I'm getting through these grades.
Yeah. It's such a weird practice, isn't it? That
it is. That's incredible.
And someone told me that the classical guitar teachers used to super glue your finger to the back of the guitar to keep it in place, or wrap it like with tape it onto the back of the guitar so that you couldn't move your thumb, so that you had to stay in position. But can you imagine being super glued to a guitar?
Wow,
this is my positioning.
I mean, that is just barbaric.
It's pretty insane, isn't it? But then there's definitely in history, there's probably 1,000 worse things that musicians have done to get good at their instruments. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably absolutely fine. Did you go to a conservatoire or something then after?
I did. I went to Trinity College of Music. Nice. I did before it moved and joined Laban. I was at the original one.
Where was that?
In the centre of London,
right
next door to Selfridges.
Cool.
That's where all the grants went, let me tell you. Yeah. So I had to get a second job and be a waitress as well. So yes, I went to Trinity, and then
did you have a good experience?
At the end of that, I actually no.
But I think it's better to be honest. It
wasn't a great experience.
Yeah,
I didn't. My singing teachers were amazing. Yeah. I was incredibly lucky. I had James Gadan, and then I switched and I went to Elizabeth Hawes, who was head of vocal studies there.
Yeah,
and had they were wonderful. Right. And some of my other teachers were fantastic. The problem was with the deputy head of the place, and he was I think he was actually slightly insane.
Right.
He would have some very strange practices.
Not unknown for musicians.
And it wasn't good.
No, but
He wasn't very nice.
I think a lot of that schooling has progressed quite massively over quite a short time. Yeah, especially for my side of things, like the less classical things. I mean, I know I've talked to people and they were like, those courses didn't even exist. And we're talking like 5 years, 10 years before I didn't. They're like, they didn't even exist. So like, it just shows how massively that's moved on. And I know that the classical side has done equally massive shifts to kind of keep up with the times. So, but I think it's good.
It has to evolve.
Yeah.
It has to evolve to keep breathing new life. And it's fantastic. Nothing can ever stand still, and it shouldn't stand still.
No.
I was really lucky at the end of it. I then went to a singing teacher called Yvonne Minton, and she was based up at the Royal Academy. And I did lessons with her, and then I flew these shores.
Where did you go?
I went off to Australia.
Oh, nice. Down under. That's a bad Australian accent.
And that was a really bad Australian accent. And if my best friend from Australia sees this, she'll be like, "What was that?"
It's all right. You did one that was equally poor. So I'm safe.
It used to be really good. When I came back from Australia, which was 3.5 years I was there, honest to goodness, I sounded more Australian than the Australians. I have a real ear for languages and the musicality of languages.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. So I love the different cadences in language. And I picked it up, honestly, within weeks. I'm a real sponge for those things. I have such a good ear for that.
You didn't go for the like Anglo-English thing then. You went straight into Australian. Yeah.
Straight true blue Australian. Yeah, so I got out there and I was in Melbourne and I auditioned. It no longer exists, which is terribly sad. The Victorian State Opera Company.
Okay.
And I turned up. And I turned up, rookie mistake, I have to say. I turned up about an hour earlier than I'd been called.
Oh, well, that's
it's
normally a good thing.
No, big mistake. Because you then get to hear all the other singers auditioning. Yeah. And I'd sat there and gone, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is embarrassing. I'm going to save myself the embarrassment of being told, oh, Lord, even though I had actually been doing a lot of singing in London at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get my coat and I'm just going to leave. So I was at the door when they called my name to go and I was literally through.
Oh, no.
And kind of went back in and sang. And at the end of it, they said, oh, you're English. Like it was a bad thing.
We didn't realise.
And I said, yes. Yeah. And I said, yeah. And they said, you do know we have really good Australian opera singers here, don't you? Thank you. Next.
Oh, okay.
And I left, went up the street, then burst into tears, obviously, because singers were so emotional. And thought, well, there's no chance of that then, is there? And about 2 months later, I had met this gentleman in a wine shop and got talking about wine, because Australia has some fantastic wine.
Yeah, of course.
And I was just chatting away and other people kept coming in going, and I was thinking, oh, wow, obviously I'm quite fat. Oh, no, not me. And about him. And I said to him, who are you? And he said, it's so refreshing. You have no idea who I am, do you? And I was like, no. And he is like the milliner of Australia. He was really, really famous. And he also made lots of hats and headpieces and things for the opera company.
Right.
So we were going, we'd known each other for a while now. So we were going to a party together, him and his boyfriend and me on my own. So I was always the third wheel. And we went to, I went home to get changed and he came and his boyfriend came and joined us. And I picked up my post. And there was one big thing saying Victoria State Opera Company. And I said, oh, you could open that. That's my rejection letter. Fantastic. I said, God, it's taken 2 months to get here. And he said, that's not a rejection letter. He said, that's a contract. He said, look how heavy it is. It's A4. That's not original. And I said, no. Trust me, you weren't there. It's a rejection letter. So he opened it and he went, yeah, that's why you've got a 4 years contract.
But there are better Australian
Which I didn't
singers.
realise. That there are better Australian singers. That actually there was only 2 of us given full contracts. Everybody else was only on a contract per opera.
Oh,
So
right.
when I did turn up and people were going, oh, are you just this? And I ended up sitting next to this girl called Lisa, who is still my very best friend. And I said, oh, yes, and for this and for that and for that. And she was like, oh, have you got a year's contract? And I was like, yeah, but hasn't everybody? She was like, no. And so that spread like wildfire. I'm surprised they didn't spit on me. This English girl has come in and taken one of them, But I made some really lifelong friends there. And again, yet an amazing other. And I was really lucky because whilst I was there, the world tour of Cameron McIntosh's came. And so I joined that.
Oh, nice. How long were you in Australia then?
3.5 years.
Did you stay at that same opera company or did you go off on that tour?
I did the tour and I also went to Australian Opera and it was just amazing. I just had the best life. I really did. The wonderful thing about Melbourne is you get 4 seasons in one day.
Right.
And I moved, I was in Sydney for a while. And, Sydney was a killer because it's so humid. And you would wake up in the morning and it would look a bit grey and you think, I can wear a jumper. I haven't worn a jumper in months. And you get your jumper out. And, of course, by midday, you'd be shedding all these layers because it was now 110 degrees and the sun was out. It's like, oh, my Lord, I can't cope with this. Whereas Melbourne, and I adored Melbourne. I love the trams. They're fantastic. They still have trams in Melbourne.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've never been to Australia. I had the chance.
It's an amazing country.
Yeah.
And the people are fantastic. Just everything about it. You
Yeah.
know, I would never have left, but they wouldn't extend visas anymore. And I got caught in the occasionally they do the unless you are Australian, even though you might have been married to an Australian for years, you have to go back to your country of origin and reapply to come back in.
Right, okay.
Because I think they were trying to cull how many people may have been there illegally, and I got, they wouldn't extend my visa anymore. So I had to leave, and I literally had about an hour left on my visa when I got the flight. and all the company came and sang me through. Oh my goodness me.
That's
So
nice.
when I got to passport control, I was sobbing so hard because I didn't want to leave. I got a house, I got a car, I'd made all these friends, and the guy on the passport just went, oh, just go.
Did they, I guess, were you leaving at that point knowing you wouldn't be coming back as well? Or were you leaving with the hope that you would be? I was going to say, because that would have been worse, thinking that you might be coming back, but you just didn't know when.
No, I kind of knew. And actually, some of my family lived in America, so I didn't actually come home. I didn't come back to the UK.
Right.
I flew. I went to Fiji first for a 2-week holiday.
Of course.
And get over the crying.
Yeah.
And then, I was kind of lying on the beach and thinking, well, this is crazy, I know, because they were saying it could take up to a year to get you back in. Well, at which point my space in the opera company would have been taken.
Yeah. And then I guess you're going back
for their young artist program, and that was, that was the worst.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, I'm going to America. I might as well
give it a go.
Yeah, and it was very bizarre what happened in America because within a day of landing to see my aunt and uncle in Texas, who are amazing, he had a heart attack. I don't think it was the shock of me arriving. And we got him to the hospital. And my aunt is in with him, and so they're asking me, because you've got to have all this insurance and stuff. And I knew their address, but they were asking me the questions. I was going, I don't know. I arrived just today. The last time I saw them, I was 7. And I'm sat in the corridor for hours, and this voice says, Cheryl? And I turned around and it was one of the producers of the World Tour of Carmen. And they were like, "Are you here?" I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "Oh my God, you can rejoin the show."
Just sat in a hospital, just picked up a new job.
Because they were like, "How long are you in America?" And I was like, so they're like, "Get back in." It's amazing.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
What the chance? Like, America's so big. America's so big. And even like a city, like that is so insane, isn't it? Fate. Fates are just pulling you each time.
Fate. It really was fate. And yet everything that's ever happened, I think I'm a real fatalist. You do so many auditions as a singer.
Yeah.
And you have to be really thick-skinned because you don't get the part because you're too tall. You're too short, you're too fat, you're too thin. Mostly mine was you're too tall because tenors are short and I'm quite tall.
Right.
I like to think that rather than the too fat part. I used to be very thin, it's okay. And so there's all kinds of things, or you're not quite what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're a bad singer or not a great singer.
No.
But they have a vision, you see, and you have to really remember that because it's hard.
Is it. Yeah, I know. And I've done like some sessiony stuff for people, like going in to be in their live band, and it's just that thing of where it's they know what their bass player is going to look like, and if I don't look like what they want their bass player to look like, you can get that tagged off even before they hear you. They've got a vision of what that stage is going to look like, and that's just part of the job. And it's not necessarily that they think I look bad or that you looked bad. No. It's not that. It's just their vision of how they think it's going to go. And I do think people get kind of a bit hung up on some of those things, and it's like it's just a point of view. And it's the same when it comes to then the playing part.
That's absolutely right. To keep in mind, it is their point of view.
Yeah. But when they come to the playing part, it's not that you're a bad musician or a bad singer. It's that it doesn't fit what they would like to hear, and that. And their criticism is going to be about what they would like to see from that person, not what you're doing. And I do think some people take that really to heart, and it will put them off then auditioning the next time. And it's like, yeah, but they've just got a really rigid like kind of thought of where they want that person to be. And like you say, thick skin, good thing for musicians.
It really is. And you have to remember, it's hard for singers. Our voices are within our bodies. They are part of us.
Yeah.
So when anybody criticizes your singing, as a teacher, I don't criticize. I will give them constructive feedback in a way that I hope helps them to get better. We will unpack things. We will look at little corners. We will work on this. I can remember feedback of people being terrible, really terrible, that will crush you. And because your instrument is within your body and it is part of you, it is so painful.
Yeah.
But you have to develop, if you want to be a professional singer, and I am, and when I became one and did it, you have to go, you know what? My instrument is actually separate to me. My instrument, a voice as a singer is separate to me.
Yeah.
And I have to take care of it far more in a way than perhaps if I just was a keyboard player, not just a keyboard player, but something external to me. If you break a string, you can get a new string.
Yeah, and I guess that's key. It goes back to like that.
You can get a new key.
Yeah, like the tone thing. Like your tone is you. You can't adjust how
it
you
is, and it's
sing
completely
massively.
unique.
Yeah.
No, completely unique.
Whereas someone could turn around to me and go, "Actually, I want a P bass sound there," and I just turn around and grab my P bass. And
I think to say I know what that is, but I'm not.
It's like basically all songs recorded are on a specific kind of bass for the most part. That's probably a bit general, but mostly on the same kind of bass. And so whenever you go into a studio, you take your nice, really expensive bass, and someone just always hands you the same one. So it's one of those things. But like that's the sound again that they want to hear, and for me to change to that doesn't really affect me in any way. it only affects later on. But for you to change the way that you sing, that is a completely different, kettle of fish. Changing your phrasing or whatever it might be, like
well,
that.
I mean, you can change your phrasing. You can make a brighter tone or a darker tone, but the actual essence of your voice,
it's going to be the same.
You can't change that. It is going to be that. The timbre of your voice. That is your voice.
Yeah.
And although I speak quite low, I actually sing quite high.
Yeah.
I didn't always. I was a mezzo for years. And then when I was about 40, 43, 44, 45, something, my voice just went, oh, for goodness sake, woman, get a grip, and just went, whoop, and went up. And I was like, I'm sure I'm getting to the point in my life where it's supposed to start coming down, but it's still, and I'm not, we're not going into how old I'm, but it was still up there. It was amazing.
It's still...
and so I keep thinking, I wonder when it's going to start.
But it probably means that you probably could have gone there earlier, but something was holding you back from getting there.
Oh, no, without a doubt. Pam Cook used to always go, you are not a mezzo, you're a lazy soprano, work harder.
So it was always there. There was just an inkling that you wanted to be lower.
I just didn't believe it. Believe it. And I think I would listen to these incredible singers, Maria Callas, Renee Fleming now, who's just divine. And it was just Cardiff Singer of the World. Some unbelievable voices. The finalists, well, they could all have won, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, the young Korean who did win was outstanding, but all of them would have been worthy winners. They're just, it's amazing. I love being a singer. I love what I do. It is intrinsically, I think if you cut me open, you would just find little singy vocal chords.
Just everywhere. Just pure vocal chords.
My friends sometimes say, when we phone you or Zoom when we're in lockdown, you do know that a lot of the time you sing your answers.
Hey.
Morning!
That's great. That's
sorry.
So,
I'm rolled out at birthday parties. Cheryl will say,
happy birthday's coming up. Go on.
Oh, yeah.
You start us off and we'll mumble the words behind you.
A lot of people do that at weddings.
Christmas parties.
And
I've definitely done that at Christmas parties. Yeah.
Yes.
And just sit in the
you
corner.
kind of go, oh, okay.
Yeah. Cheryl's got it, it's fine. My wife, when we did one a few years back, my wife was with me. And we, everyone started singing one of the songs. And suddenly she just turned around. She's like, I can only hear one person. Who is it? And I was like, yeah, that's Cheryl over there on the opposite side of the room. I thought, she was like, it's great. She's amazing. I was like, yeah, she's good. She's a vocal teacher.
Sorry.
No, it's great. I just thought it was funny. I thought that was great. But
I know, lots of people when we do those sorts of things go, I'm just going to sit near you. And
then I don't have to worry.
And I'm kind of gone, I know what you're doing now. I know what you're doing.
So go away. You've got to sing louder. I'm going to be listening to you especially now.
Yes. I'm going to mime.
Yeah. That would be outstanding if you did that one time. I think everyone would just expect it and they would start and they would just be like...
Well, you see, the thing to do is you start...
loud.
And everybody mumbles and then just
cut it.
Mime.
That would be... I can't wait. That'd be awesome. So kind of along those lines of performance, have you got like a favourite or a biggest or best performance? I'm going to use best as in quotes because there's never really a best performance, but one that sticks out to you, I guess.
Well, I think there's a few actually. I think for absolute joy of joys, it was actually not me performing. It was watching other performers, and it was in a tube station in London at Christmas time. And these musicians, they weren't the best musicians. They really weren't. But my goodness me, the joy that they had of playing and singing together and what they were doing was electric. It was fantastic, and I adored it. I think I stood there for about an hour.
Yeah.
And just kept emptying money into it. Fabulous. I just loved it. So there was that. But I think for me performing, Definitely when I was 18, one of the things that we used to do from school when we were A-level students, and actually all the A-level students were all singers, and we were all in cantamus, bar two people. And those are the two people. One of them went on to be flautist lead desk at the London Symphony Orchestra.
Right.
London Symphony Orchestra, or one of the big orchestras.
Yeah.
The rest of us were all in cantamus because I was the era of Margaret Thatcher trying to stop anything creative happening.
Right. Okay.
So A-level music was taken away from a lot of schools, and only one school in our area did it. And I moved to go to that school to do it, and it was Michael Neame was the head of music. He's the most amazing composer and has done a lot. So a lot of people, if you're watching this, who are choral singers and singers will know Michael Neame's work. And I was really lucky. He was like my second dad. And so I went there and did my A-level music.
Yeah.
We had to, as part of the A-level group, we were taken out to perform either at OAP's homes, or we had to give back to the community. And one of the places that we used to go, I don't know if it still exists, actually. I hope it does. It was called the Shepherd's School.
Right, okay.
And it was in Nottinghamshire. And the Shepherd's School was the biggest school in Europe at that time.
Right.
For mentally and physically handicapped children.
Amazing.
And we would make these big pictures, and we would take maracas and little drums and tambourines and all kinds of things with us. And we would sing all these songs, and they would bring these children in. And some of them, you know, at 18, it's quite, you're not really exposed to seeing, or certainly not in that era, to see mentally and physically handicapped children like this. And I really remember one child, quite young, being brought in, and they looked like a big bag of flour, because they were over this teacher's arm, just hanging.
Yeah.
And when we did Puff the Magic Dragon, and we had all the pictures up, and we had the kids doing this child was now kind of sat, and I went over and I put my hands on his hands, and he could feel the vibrations of me singing. And so I put his hand here so he could feel it. And I know I'm going to cry in a minute. And it was amazing. He started to smile, and he started to make noises. And then all the people in the room, the teachers and the carers, started to cry. And at the end, we found out that it was the first time he'd ever made a noise in 5 years.
That's amazing, isn't it? That's such a great story.
I mean, that was just, oh my goodness me. So for me, there'd be that.
Yeah.
But if you're talking then professionally on stage, I mean, there are many, but I think Sydney, and we did the World Tour of Carmen. We had a big revolving stage, huge revolving stage. We had real horses, big carriages. They stopped short at a live bull because we'd seen, even though they'd dry fed the horses, what happened on stage. There was a lot of noise with the horses.
Yeah.
That in front of 50,000 people was quite something. When all my entire costume fell off and I was naked on stage was something else. That is a whole other story. And then I suppose, you know, down here in Cornwall, 3 or 4 years ago, singing the role of Violetta in Traviata for Duchy Opera on the stage at the Minac was really special.
The Minac is just like an otherworldly place.
Incredible.
On a nice day. On a not so nice day, it can be a bit
well, I've sung
fierce.
In all weathers. I've done the proms down there for about 10 years, and that's been fairly interesting. But they, on our final night there, we had to delay the start of the opera because there were dolphins and there was a whale out in the bay. And there's no point starting when everyone's looking over there. And dolphins. Hello, I'm the soprano dying over here. So we delayed it, and it was amazing because as I died, and I'm not aware of this because I'm saying the movement, and it was very hot this week. I lost a stone in weight in a week. Silver linings. What happened is as I died, a completely huge full moon came right up behind me.
That's amazing, isn't it? That is pretty.
So
pretty good timing. Good timing. You obviously knew.
It was fantastic. I loved it. I absolutely, I loved that role. I love Verdi, singing Verdi. It was really special. And all the people that I perform with, really very, very fortunate and very fortunate. I still perform with them, and having set up my own opera company, I get to perform with them. So doubly fabulous.
All the best stuff. All the best stuff.
All the best stuff.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Like I said, I love the Minac. I think, there's not many locations in the world that come really even close to it in it's just awe, I guess. There's much bigger locations. It's not big.
Yeah, but that is really special.
The setting.
I mean, it's not easy to sing at.
No.
It is tricky to sing
I can't imagine, because it's open air and there's not really any walls. So you've got like no reverb at all, have you? I mean, and nothing coming back at you either, because I would imagine with a lot of bodies in the seats as well, it's probably absorbs most of everything you're putting out there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, they do some fold back for you, but it's not the same. What you have to do is you have to rely on your technique. You absolutely have to know that you are singing correctly and not, rely on what you hear. You just have to think technique all the time. And just be aware of where you are so you don't fall off the back.
Yeah. I can imagine that also being a bit scary. just keep me at least a meter away. I'm really clumsy.
Yeah.
Whenever I play live as well, I'm really clumsy. So like I sometimes almost manage to fall over standing up. So I just don't know how. Yeah, I couldn't be quite near an edge like that, I don't think.
Oh, I've been up on the fish slab. You know that it kind of is the raised. It looks like the big table mat.
Yeah.
I've been up there on a table and sung an aria up there and had to pretend I was writing when I was the Countess in Marriage of Figaro. That was probably the bit that made me the most, because that really was like there is about an inch. And
oh my God.
Right down the cliff
in the
face.
Sea.
yeah. I'll be soggy, Countess.
Soggy Countess.
But it is fantastic. It is in all weathers. I've done lashing rain. We did this wonderful thing down there called One Fine Day. And it was all about Puccini's life. And I sang, Butterfly and a few other things. And one of the ones, an opera that he wrote, was called Manon. And Manon, she dies at the end. I never survive these operas.
Is that
and you die because
the lead is always going to have this kind of fate in an opera?
Not necessarily. It's the voice type.
Right, okay.
I'm quite a dramatic lyric, so it's the voice type that I have. So I die. And she dies because she dies from being in the desert and no water.
Right.
And she dies of dehydration. And this day, it was May the 4th, and we did all the May the 4th be with you jokes.
Yeah, of course.
Was the wettest, worst weather the Minac had ever had. And the rain was coming down so hard, it was bouncing back up and hitting you in the face. And I was singing, one part I came out and sang some Tosca, and I looked across because John Hobbs was singing Scarpia, and actually he was only over there, and the rain was so heavy I couldn't actually see him.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't see him. And carried on. And when I was doing the Manon, and I'm in a little calico top and skirt, and it was ripped, in the desert. And I think, well, this is funny, because literally I think I'm going to drown.
You could have opened your mouth.
So she dies at the end. Oh, it did a few times.
I was going to say, you're being drank. You're getting enough water from the sky. Definitely not dying of dehydration there.
No, and I died on the stage down. And my friends were like, it was hilarious because where your head was, there was little eddies of water around your head. And I said, well, you think that's hilarious? I'm down there thinking, how many inches of water was it that they said that you... it wasn't very many that you would drown in.
Yeah, it's an inch.
And then I was thinking, I've got to get up and take a bow. And I am very honestly completely wet.
Oh, no.
Everything. Underwear and all I could think is, how see-through is this?
And you can't check until you stand up.
Can oh Lord! And then had to. We had hair dryers to dry off certain apparel before donning the next thing to come out. But yeah, one fine day was the worst weather day ever.
That's crazy, isn't
And
it?
we had John Nettles, the amazing John Nettles, was narrating it. And
he got drenched as well.
He didn't don, nor did our conductor, who was Paul Drayton at the time. They didn't don any wet weather gear until the interval. And they were in DJs. I mean, they were absolutely soaked. It was amazing. And the chorus were amazing, but we clapped the audience at the end because we still had about 750 people there.
That's pretty impressive.
Nobody left.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, I guess if you've already committed to getting wet a bit, getting more wet, probably, you know, you're done. And
I think it's a
you get
badge
to
of
say
honour.
about it. I was going to say, you get to tell people, oh yeah, I was at the Minac once and we got drenched.
Yeah.
But
We clapped the audience.
I bet it made it all the more dramatic as well, you know.
It was definitely that.
Yeah.
It was definitely that.
So we've got
And the drive home was definitely dramatic in the floods.
It was it, yeah. Dramatic driving home, and the car was soaked inside.
Soaked.
Yeah. So we're kind of getting near the end now, and I tend to like to round us off where we started, in that we heard about how music's basically affected you from birth. You were singing all the way from that time, and now how does music affect you as an adult? I mean, you're obviously still singing, you're obviously still teaching,
absolutely.
But what role does it play, like, in your life day to day, as opposed to actually doing it, I guess, is the real question.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day my life is filled with music. I'm singing every day, playing every day. I teach most days, teach singing and piano, ukulele, recorder. I'm really, really lucky to do a job that I love for an amazing company. The music service is out. The people, that my colleagues are outstanding. And it comes from the top. Gareth Churcher is just the most inspiring leader for us all, as are everybody else who support him and our support staff. I mean, just incredibly lucky.
I think it's a very close service as well, isn't it? And that really helps.
It is a close service.
You know, everyone mucks in. Everyone is keen to get more music in Cornwall. So
it's so important and helps you through. You know, there have been things that have happened in my life, as they do in everybody's lives when you get to a certain age. And music has been the one thing to keep me going. So I get to, but I sing every day. So I practice every day.
Yeah.
And sing. I mean, the last 18 months, because of COVID, have been really difficult. So all my bookings for me singing within 3 days literally cleared for the whole year. Just gone. Absolutely gone. We've got some of them back now, but I am, and just about 6 months before COVID, I'd set up my own opera company called Intimate Opera Cornwall. We'd done 2 gigs. We had other gigs set up, and of course that all went by. So we are back. We are rehearsing. Actually, we've had a few rehearsals. We're back for another one on Monday in my garden, because we can't be inside, because we're singing at Trevint's, the beautiful house in the gardens, and we're down at Penley Park Theatre doing Italian gala evenings. So I'm fascinated by music, and I'm fascinated obviously by singing and vocal music, and also about human voices. So I also teach people how to do public speaking and presentations, and the human voice fascinates me. They're all completely individual.
Yeah.
And lots of things can go wrong with them. There's no singer that will ever tell you, I've never had a problem.
Yeah.
So I've just trained and passed to be a vocal health first aider.
That's cool.
And ideally, in about 18 months, I'm giving myself a little break, but I'm going to start to train to be a vocal health practitioner.
Nice.
And I just find being able to help people with their voices, because it is such a personal expression. Your voice is so unique and so wonderful. And I just love how music connects us all. I love how music can lift you and change your day. It can give you comfort. It can bring you joy. And to be able to share our knowledge and our expertise and our love, our absolute love of music to young musicians here in Cornwall, and because of through our online teaching now all over the world, it just gives me goosebumps. I adore it. I'm never happier than when I'm singing. And I get a little bit weird if I'm not performing about every 2 or 3 weeks. So the lockdown was
really
crazy for me. Well, I just went out and I used to just sing in the garden and out the front of the house when we did the clapping, and the whole village would be like, "Oh, here she is."
I bet the neighbours were pleased with that. I mean, they get a free performance.
Well, I'm really lucky. I have 2 operas live that side of me.
Oh, really?
And I have 2, 3 other people who work for the music service live in the village as well.
Oh, so you've got a nice little singing commune there, so that you can you can just blast it out, and they'll all just be soaking it in.
Yeah, I do go around and I warn my neighbours when we're going to have a rehearsal. So I've got to do that this weekend and go, just to let you know, there's going to be some squawking happening for a couple of hours. Sorry about this. Shut your windows if you don't like it, or sit in the garden if you do, but we're doing a rehearsal, just to let them know. So it doesn't come as a great big shock when all these opera singers let loose. But yes, music is. I bet that makes
gardening
the reason
really
I get
epic.
up and breathe.
I bet that makes gardening really epic. Do you know what I mean? Like just chopping the trees down, or planting some plants, and in the background you've got da, 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 da. Like I can just imagine just the most epic gardening or DIY work. People just need to put a camera on.
Don't go in the greenhouse when we're hitting the high notes. That's all I'd say.
The glass starts rattling around you.
So that's it. I mean, I live, breathe, think music, and I like researching music for the courses, and I'm constantly looking for and developing my own teaching skills and what I understand. So lots of forums, lots of courses that I keep on and keep relevant. Because I don't just teach classical, obviously I teach musical theatre and pop and folk and all kinds because everybody needs to be able to sing all kinds of things. So you have to teach them techniques so that keeps their voices healthy. And I absolutely love it. I think I'd stop living if I couldn't have music. I don't know. Somebody asked me a while ago, what would you have been if you hadn't been a singer? And I just looked and went, a singer. I
would have been a non-professional singer. That's amazing.
It's nothing else. And I have obviously had to have other jobs as a singer between singing gigs or, whatever. And I have done, and I trained to be a legal executive. So I trained and passed all of that. The singing, legal executive. And I've had my own restaurants as well. But I used to perform.
That sounds like it could have been it could be a play in its own right. The singing legal executive.
Oh yeah.
That sounds
there's
right
all
up
sorts. There. There's all sorts that I've done and love it.
This is a sneaky last question then. Could you recommend me something to listen to this week? Something that you're listening to at the minute, or just anything that you think would be cool and different?
Well, actually, I think everybody should go and watch the Cardiff Singer of the World. If you can't bear to watch all of it, go and watch the final.
Nice. Okay.
The final of Cardiff Singer of the World, BBC iPlayer, BBC4, absolutely outstanding to see young singers sing at that level of their game.
Yeah.
Just awe-inspiring. It really is. Absolutely is. And anything by Renee Fleming, anything by Maria Callas, Pavarotti, Kaufman. I mean, just so much wonderful, wonderful, wonderful singing. But go watch Cardiff Singer of the World. You will be inspired and it's what the human voice can do. Yeah. It's what the human voice can do.
Yeah.
As opera singers, we're not mic'd. We sing over that orchestra.
Yeah. Which is pretty impressive.
How to put blade into your voice to carry over the orchestra without strain, without pushing. That's why it takes us flipping years.
I was going to say, I I find it hard enough singing over a band with a microphone, let alone singing over well, bands can be pretty loud, to be fair.
Support. All breathing and support from down here. Well, never on here, never just here.
that's the rock and roll trick, isn't it? All from the throat and then lose it in a year. Yeah.
I'm afraid it is actually.
It's a bit of a nail in the coffin for a lot of rock and roll singers. Is that they just it all comes from one place, and that place only has so much time in it, sadly. But
I know, but you got to just go and get trained to know how to use it.
I know, yeah, and there's some really amazing. I know there's some like guys who just teach like rock vocals and stuff, and they teach how to do that like right, still singing from the throat sound, but not doing that. So
absolutely, so that you won't have any damage.
No, yeah. Well, I hope whoever is listening to this or watching this has gained a little bit of inspiration. And I know you would have gained some passion because it's obvious how passionate Cheryl is. And I think from that story, you can also see that life is full of pathways. They're all around us. And if you take every single one that gets offered to you, don't worry about that rehearsal or that audition. You'll be fine. But it's going to make your life better.
Just keep going. Keep going. You will learn more from stuff that goes wrong than goes right. Keep working. The essence for any musical instrument, and especially voice, because vocal cords, muscles, you have to train them.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it every single day. Even 10 minutes, really concentrated rehearsing, practicing is far better than an hour or 2 hours of just all kinds of stuff. Just find that 10 minutes and listen to every kind of type of music that there is going.
Yeah.
You know, I get quite a few people come and say, I only want to do musical theatre. I only want to do pop. I only want to do this. And then I play them something else and go, what do you think to this?
Yeah.
And they're like, how did they do that? And I was like, okay.
There
now
we go.
We can start.
So this week,
just immerse yourself in it, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And this week, you don't need to go pick up your instrument. This week, you just need to open your mouth and sing.
Sing and keep singing. And join a choir and do community, because singing in harmony is good for your soul. It makes you feel so alive and so much better. It has been proved close harmony singing is really health beneficial. That's why you saw all these choirs happen through lockdown, and they have flourished. And workplace choirs. I mean, Gareth Malone, he should be knighted.
Yeah.
He is amazing, and his home chorus was fantastic. I watched it, I joined in. It was just brilliant. These people are amazing. There's lots of it out there. Just sing, and don't worry if people say, oh, it's terrible.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Just
don't worry
sing
about
with all
that
your
bit.
heart. Don't worry about that bit. You can come and have lessons with me. I can help you sound better.
And until next time, I'm sure we'll get Cheryl on again. But until next time, say bye.
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 Keep singing.